All right, Darkest Hour.
Go,
Colin.
I thought Gary Oldman was amazing. He always brings it to the table.
Has there ever been a movie where he wasn't?
No, I really
Lost in
can't think
Space.
of it.
I love that movie.
He was good in that.
Yeah, he was really good in that.
We'll get into that when we do our picks, but he was amazing. Some of my favorite scenes were when they were in the ship, or kind of higher up. You're kind of like the bird's eye view of bombing and coming from the map, basically.
Yeah, I remember.
Kind of like
Yep.
And those shots
cool.
were. I thought that really gave it that little something to the movie,
Yeah.
and also the speech writing scenes, just like the way that they made these epic speeches that actually do exist came to him either easy or like the way they shot it kind of seemed like it came easy to him, but then when it came up to like giving the speeches, he was very like editing himself and like really meticulous.
I like that.
Read that back to me.
And then when he yelled at the guy right before he went on air to the whole, to everybody, and it was just like that was pretty powerful, and I like that. I like all those parts.
I agree with you. Gary Oldman's amazing. I think he's going to win for best makeup, which we'll talk later. But the makeup was amazing.
You realize that Oldman's not allowed to win anything, right?
Why not?
Oh,
Never
no.
wins anything.
That's what I'm saying. That's the way he's going to win.
Wait a minute. G. Oldman, Goldman, Oscar,
Jewish conspiracy?
Gold, and a man. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Darkest
His
Hour.
name is Oscar. And his real name was
Darkest
Oscar.
Hour.
No, my favorite scene was when he was talking to the people in the subway. I think that was a really powerful scene. I thought it was a good movie, but it was very sensationalized. Like this is the opposite of Call Me by Your Name, Aaron, where it was really like beautiful. Everything was beautiful, shadow and lighting. Everything was just like
It was
dramatic and
idealized.
beautiful. It was, but that was the purpose. It was kind of being like a sensationalizing him a little bit. Who knows the real details of him? They really depict him to be really, really out. He had his quirks and things, but he was really loyal to his wife and really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the history of.
So I'll just add just on this
Churchill.
point is that they have obviously glossed over quite a bit and buffed out some of the more frustrating
Egregious.
details about Churchill and like some of the things he did, and like particularly when it comes to like colonialism and races. Like there's a lot of things about Churchill that are
Because
bad.
he talked to a black man at one point,
Well, yeah, but like, no, I'm just saying they didn't include some of the bad details about Churchill in this movie, which is okay. That's for movies like this. I think it's okay to not be 100% accurate and to just sort of vaguely acknowledge some of his his or her main issues.
What particular that was like the most egregious to you?
What do you mean?
Well,
Just like some of the things he's done by like in real life, some of the ways he's treated India, basically in real, like they didn't mention any of that in here.
India,
So,
like the country India?
yeah,
Okay.
like during this time. And so I think that's okay to not do that and just sort of acknowledge at a distance that he's not perfect. But the thing about it is, and so many biopics do this, the thing about it though is that's in sacrifice to a bigger motive to like deliver some message that this person did something great. And my problem with this movie as a whole was that the great thing that he did kind of came across as like, well, yeah, obviously, the whole movie was basically around the theme of like how hard it was to actually convince people that no, we should never compromise with Hitler,
surrender.
right? We should never compromise with Hitler. And basically
Especially during the darkest hour.
Unless you're the
the
Swiss.
crux of that decision came during the subway scene where he talks to people, and this is after 2 hours of movie where it's like this back and forth about what should we do, and then the people are just like, no, don't negotiate. And like as an audience, it's like, yeah, obviously don't negotiate. And so it just came across to me that
I think
like
that didn't come across me that way. I think it
Okay.
came across me like the dire straight. He was dealing with a lot of things, like a lot of lives were at stake. Could he save lives if he negotiated? I mean, to me, that's what it came across to. But I don't know the history about it, the details about it. I don't know if even did that even happen.
If it even, yeah, who knows?
Did he go to
Yeah.
the subway even that happened?
Did
it
he
probably
even
did.
look like that?
You know,
The other,
I mean,
the other,
the
sorry.
way that you were talking about how they kind of left out some of the things with Churchill, like in The Crown, they make him more disgusting, like a little bit more grosser, and so they kind of glossed that over a little bit. They were like, "Oh, he has all these little things that you got to look out for," but
Well,
then he
you know-
was actually more disgusting than that.
well, what'd be interesting is
Maybe, I don't
what is
know.
the real truth? Because everybody there's so many perspectives about historical people that. Maybe you just ran into him on a bad day or a good day. You know what I mean? Like,
And then we
it's-
didn't
so
really
don't
learn
know.
this in our history classes because we're Americans too. So
Yeah.
you know that's
So-
Yeah, we ain't Brits.
the other thing I would add that is kind of my issue with the post too is that one of the other side stories was, and I'll say it really quickly, was that Dunkirk gets brought up.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, what are we going to do about this dire situation? What are we going to do? And actually, to me, watching this movie, I felt myself wanting to know more about Dunkirk. And then I remembered that they made a movie about that, and that was the more interesting story.
It was called
so
Dunkirk.
yeah. So like, I was more interested in a thing that was happening in the movie than the politicians debating in a big room about what to do, which isn't the fault of the movie. They're telling what happened, but just to say, like, this wasn't as interesting to me.
No.
Not to say there weren't good stuff about the movie. It's just like,
Yeah.
I thought the cinematography and lighting was really good. Like literally, I know you said it's sensationalized. I actually thought that was the best part of the movie.
I like that. I think it's good.
They were
I think
trying
it's
to
good.
idealize
I'm
that
just
time and
describing
person.
what. And I think that was a choice. That was a choice.
I thought the wife character was really good. I wasn't a big
Yeah.
fan of the typist from Baby Driver.
Oh, I was a big fan of her.
Okay.
But that's for other reasons.
well, they kind of hyped her up at the beginning, but they kind of like
No.
forgot about her later on.
But
in the film.
they
it did, and it made sense that their women are more quiet back then. You know, especially British women. Everybody's polite.
Yeah, I don't know, her character, the not arc of her character, but the substance of her character, I felt really came in the, like, that her brother was at Dunkirk, or it was somewhere where he died.
bro?
But yeah. And that was really all she had going for her. But that one scene with her was really good, where he
powerful.
quietly kind of cries in the room and like while they're writing the speech, and she's doing like I
He
thought
was
that was
hard
a really
to
good scene.
understand too, a little bit. He was going a little Bane on me a little bit.
Yeah, but that's kind of like what I liked about Gary Oldman just doing that. It was, I don't know, it was good for me.
Did you point out the Dark Knight Rises connection in it?
Go
You had
on.
Gary Oldman, obviously Commissioner Gordon,
Right.
and the one guy who played the king was the guy that Bane crushes his face. You know, like, what makes you think you're in charge? He's the king. He's also in
do think
Rogue
this gives
One
you
and the new
Yeah,
Ready
but-
Player One movie.
I thought his character was actually really good.
really good,
The
yeah.
king, and the relationship between King and Churchill, that actually had like a
and as soon as Gary,
buddy friendship kind of arc to it, of like, we hate each other, and then nope, we're pals now, even though we don't like each other that
he
well.
likes tea and I like crumpets. But we get along.
We get along just fine.
Oh, there's some lovely tea over here, sir. What about Dunkirk?
Has anybody here actually been to Britain? Are we way off?
I've never been.
I've never been happy.
Any last thoughts in our last 20 seconds? Colin?
Well, you mentioned Dunkirk. I watched Dunkirk right before Darkest Hour. I watched them back to back, and so I felt very patriotic afterwards.
Good.
Yeah, that's my final.
Well, speaking of which, our next movie is Dunkirk. So, perfect segue.